The first story: A young man who dies in his sleep. The story, which took place in the late 1970s in the United States of America, not only remains a very scary story, but the mysteries surrounding it have never been fully resolved. At that time, the New York Times and the Los Angeles Times suddenly published incredible reports, all of which reported the mysterious death of young Hmong people. The Hmong were a people of Lao race who had fought for the Americans during the Vietnam War, but after the war ended, they were the target of brutal purges by the communist government of Laos. Many Hmong were imprisoned and sent to concentration camps or sent to death squads during this time of fear. Therefore, many of them fled to America to survive. But apparently their nightmare was never going to end. Long after the first migrations, many Hmong youths died in their sleep without any background. According to the reports and testimony of the families, the victims complained of having terrible nightmares before their death. These nightmares were so terrifying that many victims resisted going to sleep for several days. But finally, when they fell asleep, they suddenly woke up with heartbreaking noises and succumbed to death until their family and friends arrived at their bedside. If this horror story sounds familiar, it's because the late filmmaker Wes Craven inspired slasher star Freddy Krueger and the story of A Nightmare on Elm Street, 1984, a character who kills his victims in their sleep. He trapped them and sent them to death with cruel methods. The second story: The monster that was created by the internet. Among all the terrible events that the internet has directly and indirectly caused, perhaps none of them have reached the level of horror and influence in the minds of the audience. This fictional character was just a simple internet meme at first, but after a while, the story became very scary. It was no longer just a story. The story of Slender Man started from a Photoshop competition in an internet forum. The contest, hosted by the website Something Awful, asked participants to give ordinary photos a spooky twist by adding ghosts, ghouls, monsters, and other scary creatures. Eric Knudsen, with the username Victor Sorg, participated in this competition by designing the photo of Slender Man. Slender Man was a faceless phantom that quickly caught everyone's attention. In designing his famous photo, Knudsen used several black and white photos of children playing and added a very tall and thin person to the background. Knudsen later added tentacles to Slender Man's back in one of the photos to give the character another scary side. While Knudsen only gave him Slender Man's name and appearance, the legend of this terrifying creature was created by the collective thinking of countless netizens. Only 10 days after Knudsen's photos were released, a YouTube channel made a fictional video inspired by Slender Man's scary adventures. Other videos and computer games inspired by Slender Man quickly followed. Gradually, the legend of Slender Man was formed in the minds of users. Users considered Slender Man to be a haunter of children who lured them into the forest and asked them to collaborate in order to reach the position of his servant. Although Slender Man's behavior and motivations have always been ambiguous, none of this seems to prevent his legend from being terrifying.